Sniper Elite 5 is finally here, and months of waiting later, I finally get my hands on the game a few weeks early. After playing through the whole campaign in co-op and trying some of the single player and new survival multiplayer aspects, I'm here to let you know exactly what's going on with the new title, everything it adds, everything it has to offer, and the first thing you need to know before getting into Sniper Elite 5. Thank you so much to Rebellion and Sniper Elite 5 for sponsoring this video. I've been a big fan of the series for so long, so it really is appreciated that they're supporting the channel. So please, if you haven't already, go and check out Sniper Elite 5. It's launching on PS4/5, Steam, Xbox One, the Series X, and Game Pass as well if you already have that. It's a killer deal. But let's get into what the game is about. Well, we all know that Sniper Elite 5 is going back into World War II, 1944, a part of a covert US Rangers to weaken the Atlantic Wall fortifications along the coast of Brittany. You, of course, return as Carl Fairburn. You make contact with the French resistance and uncover a secret Nazi plot that threatens to end the war before the Allies can even invade Europe. This is Operation Kraken. The story is okay. It comes around this story that Carl Fairburn is the main character of course. The French resistance characters are kind of forgettable, but they kind of help as this guide to pushing you through the unique levels, and the levels are where this game really shines. Honestly, Sniper Elite has never been famed for its incredible story, but I don't feel like it has all that much pressure in order to write something that's Breaking Bad level-esque. But it is the stealth and the gameplay and the sniping mechanics that really make Sniper Elite a fantastic series for me, and it's no different here. This unparalleled sniping and tactical third-person combat is so infamous with the series, especially the enhanced kill cams, sniping from long ranges, seeing your bullets smash into the skulls of enemies as blood go flying, getting that lucky testicle shot if you can, and well, eventually later on, there will be a DLC about killing Hitler, so you will get the chance to do that once more. The improved traversal system is pretty good, climbing up walls over fences. I feel like the controls have something left to be desired. However, I find often when I'm jumping over something, you have to then press control to drop down, but automatically you'll feel like you press W to go over the wall and then you'll press S to drop down the wall, but it doesn't quite work like that and you end up hopping over a wall like 3 or 4 times before you work out what you're doing wrong. It needs a bit of work, but I do think it does help to scale the maps. And the maps, as I mentioned, are where this really shines. The scale of this is much bigger than we've ever seen in a Sniper Elite 4. They have really lent into that open world style, and whilst it's not really open world, it does feel like it when you're playing the maps. There's so many objectives, there's so many side quests and missions and collectibles and things to find. You could play these things over and over again and still not find everything that Sniper Elite 5 missions have to offer. Look, I was playing through them trying to get everything, and it would still get to the end of a mission and it'd say, oh, you've missed something that wasn't shown on the map, but things that you can just discover if you go to the right places. Of course, they're not important to the success of the mission, but they are little extras that you can find through your playthrough. Let's talk about the campaign though. You can of course play it through single player, but I think at least for me the preferred way is the co-op campaign. It allows another player to come and join you on your escapades. We start off with the Atlantic Wall. This is a great introduction mission and it's pretty much what you'd expect. Starting on a submarine with your fellow friends, you have to take out some spotlights in the distance in case they see you. Once you've done that, you can head to shore. The guys on the submarine stay on the submarine, which they probably will regret a little bit later. Now, there will be spoilers for the story in this, but as I mentioned, I don't think many people will mind. It's pretty much you snipe certain targets, you collect certain information about other stuff. Let's talk about the Atlantic Wall mission though. I think as an introduction, it's great. It is quite open and you're able to get some really good long-range sniper spots. Later on, you have some more enclosed missions which help you get the more melee kills and try stealth that way, but for this one, you're doing a lot of hiding in bushes, finding and dodging from enemy transports that are moving along the road. You have motorbikes with sidecars with MGs on them, you have jeeps, you have trucks, and later on, you've got some heavier vehicles that you've got to take out. The patrols are as deadly as ever if you have it on the highest difficulty, or as easy as you want them if you put them on the lower one. I love the option to change the difficulty of certain aspects of the game, game. So for example, me and James were playing it. We put everything on medium except from the sniping itself on authentic, meaning that we still had access to things like the HUD, so we could see what weapons we were using, we could see our health, and of course if you put the combat of the enemies up to authentic, it is incredibly tricky. So we kept them all on medium, but using the sniping on authentic meant that we had to make sure that we were lining up our shots with the wind, and of course the drop and the zeroing of our scopes, but we also didn't get the reticle to tell us when we were on target, so we had to really be careful about the shots we took. Later on, when we unlocked more guns and attachments, we were able to be a little bit more liberal, as silencers meant we could take more than one shot before getting found out. However, this scaled well with the missions. As the missions go on, they got harder, meaning that the better weapons you have doesn't help all that much unless it's in certain scenarios. Then you have to pick and choose what attachments and weapons you go through. So quickly before we move on with the missions though, let's talk about the skills. You have skills for combat, your body, and your weaponry. You can do things like give yourself more health, maybe you have more stamina. You can also take down enemies and search them at the same time. These are all things that are going to help your gameplay, but not drastically change it. Small tweaks, and eventually you'll be able to unlock pretty much everything, but at least at the start, you have to kind of be picky and choosy with what skills you put into your character. These will of course carry through the campaign, whether it's co-op or single player. The same can be done with weapons. You can unlock new weapons, and workshops can be found on the map that will give you skins and things for the weapons. As far as I know, these can't be purchased with real money at this point in time. They're just things that you find throughout the map, so be rest assured. So the Atlantic Wall, moving through, doing a bit of sniping, sabotaging generators to give yourself some of that much needed sniper cover. When you see the little waveforms at the top, you see you're able to take a shot at the same time and enemies won't hear the direction of your sniper bullet. Now talking about AI, it works pretty well, pretty much the same as Sniper Elite 4. If you are covered by sound, they most likely won't know where it's coming from. However, we did have some issues with AI being able to see through bushes and sometimes even walls. At one point in a later mission, there was an AI behind a boarded up window. I could see their silhouette in my sniper vision, but the window was boarded up. However, I don't think the AI was coded to think that window was boarded up. They were able to see me straight through the wooden boards as if it was a normal window. So there are some issues there, but on the whole, the AI was pretty decent. After the Atlantic Wall, we head to occupied residence at Chateau de Beranger. Here you have a mission where you have to take out an important German officer, find some secrets in their hidden office, and a few collectibles round and about. It is a beautiful mansion, and this really shows the scale of these maps. Because my god does this one feel big. You start at a resistance camp near the back and you'll move through different areas, whether you're trying to get over farms and cobblestone walls into barns, moving over bridges, and of course dodging from those enemy jeeps that are patrolling as well. Moving through, once you've completed these areas, you'll get to the chateau. Now, this chateau is gorgeous. There are so many ways to infiltrate. Whether you go around the back, head straight through the front, climb up a window at the side, or go into the courtyard, there are tons and tons of enemies patrolling, so you've got a plethora of opportunities to try out your most incredible sniper shots, whether you go up close and melee them, or do those long-range, iconic X-ray vision Sniper Elite 5 kills. I did actually play this mission way before I got any key to the game, because I went to a Sniper Elite press event and I got the opportunity to play this one mission, so I was quite experienced with it by the time I got to play it. I've played this mission actually 2 or 3 times now. I'm still rubbish at it, but it is a lot of fun. Moving on there, we have Spy Academy. Spy Academy is a very large map and one of the most impressive in terms of architecture and design. You are on the coast, fighting at first across the beach, but then into a massive castle that really reminds me of Minas Tirith. There are scales and scales of rocks and turrets, bridges across and crenellations. There are so many enemies, and this is where snipers are really introduced. Snipers, don't get me wrong, are in the other mission, but this is where there's a lot of counter enemy snipers. You'll be seeing the sun glint off their scope, so keep an eye out for that. But of course, once you mark them up, they show off a little bit of a different icon, so you're able to target them first. And target them first is definitely something you should do at the beginning of this map. You're able to get some sort of sound cover from the plane flying over above, but there are a few trucks and generators nearby that you can use in order to pick off the enemies at the beach. Once you've made it over the beach, you're going up into Minas Tirith. Doing a bit more sniping from the rooftops, you'll also find your way going through the streets and running into enemies if you're not careful, having to do melee takedowns and finding enough mines to place in awkward positions in case they decide to follow you into certain corridors. You'll then start to make your way up into the church and the more castle areas. It feels goddamn epic, walking into this cathedral, sneaking between the pews, finding guys to snipe from above and climbing up into the very, very top to finish this mission. And then, well, Then we get onto War Factory. A mission that I was very much struggling with. Not because it's badly designed, but it was the first sort of step up where I started having issues with the difficulty. It was very much a challenging mission because, well, first of all, it was the first one that's properly solely in the dark. You start with doing a bit of sniping, but there's very little cover that you can use here. This is going pure stealth. Sniping is only really as a last resort, or if you find somewhere with enough cover, or you, for some reason, already have a silent sniper by this point. Most of the time, you're going to be using your silenced pistol and of course your melee takedowns. The SDKFZ 222 is introduced as a light armored vehicle that will be patrolling. They're very tricky to take down unless you can sneak up behind with a satchel charge or get a Panzerfaust right to the rear. Now, it does take a few of these, so as I said, they are very tricky to take down. They will also kill you in a few shots with their 20mm gun. The War Factory is as it seems. There's a lot of things you have to take down, like generators and factories, to try and stop them from constructing all the weaponry they need. There are so many different objectives on this one, and some of them are quite spread out. And then another thing that it introduces is the flare gun. The ability to be able to shoot a flare into the air on a certain position and call down an artillery strike. Something that I wasn't aware of that was in the game before I shot that flare, and I ended up wasting the artillery strike. However, we are able to use it in a later mission when it comes back, and we use it a bit more effectively to take out some heavier armor. As mentioned, all I can offer in terms of tips on War Factory is use goddamn stealth. Trying to snipe on this one is going to cause you many issues if you're not careful. Something I really do like is the passage of time. It seems that you start at the dead of night, and when it gets to the end of the mission, it's almost becoming dawn, which is maybe something that I'm imagining, but for me, it feels like a really cool touch. Moving on, we have a mission on an amazing channel island that goes by the name of Guernsey. Festung Guernsey. Guernsey, of course, was taken over by the Nazis in World War II, and it is your chance to try and liberate it back. In reality, the Allies just kind of left it till the end of the war and didn't really bother. The Germans were like, let's go and take Guernsey. I'm sure the British will try and fight for it back, and the British were like, do we need it? And so it stayed occupied by the Germans for a long time. But hey, it's got some really cool World War II attractions now. But Guernsey is a rainy, dark, damp mission. You come in on a little dinghy, and this kind of shows off how beautiful the graphics are. I did mention in one of my previous videos, I didn't think the graphics were all that different to Sniper Elite 4, but it's times like these when you really do feel it. The lighting and the shadows are really nice, especially when your clothes are wet. It is a great look. Now, what's to be said for Guernsey? Well, Guernsey's a pretty standard Sniper Elite map. There's a bit of fighting in buildings, there's a bit of fighting in the open, hiding in grass, hiding around rock, doing a fair mix of melee and sniping kills. Then you move into the underground bunkers, which is where it gets really exciting. You're going to be focusing a lot more on doing these melee kills and stealthing this way, but it was in these underground areas that I found a few issues with some certain things within the game. For example, the sound mixing is a little bit weird. Of course, you have directional and 3D sound that gives you an indicator of where the enemies are. They will talk to themselves and talk to each other, so you'll be able to hear out for if they're around a corner or not. However, sometimes the game doesn't quite know where it is with the sound mixing, and it might sound like they're right next to you, but actually they're on the floor below or the floor above, and it doesn't quite come across all that well. Now it's time to take the fight back to the Germans. You head into France with a beautiful cutscene, a D-Day-esque look. You're in your gliders being pulled by aircrafts, and of course you're shot down. So you must make your way into the French town through all the German patrols, past the gliders, find some more information, and of course find some of the radios of your dead comrades that unfortunately also crashed in their gliders. You'll find and experience in this next mission a lot more snipers that you have to deal with in much trickier positions. Stealth will be pretty easy because there's a lot of buildings tied together, and there's of course a lot of bushes as well that you're able to use. There's a few heavier armored vehicles like the SDKFZ, and it is the end of this mission that is when you first are introduced to heavy armor such as tanks. These take a lot to kill, like 4 or 5 Panzerfaust shots, a few satchel charges to the back. One won't do it these days. A lot of armor piercing shots, that kind of thing. It will take a lot of baiting, getting behind, moving around to take out these tanks, but it is an exciting and thrilling end. Unfortunately, my teammate James disconnected before we got to this bit, so I actually had to deal with the tank on my own. Typical James. But this map, once again, feels really big. There's a lot of separation and variety in this scenery, and moving through each of these missions, I might add, took about an hour to an hour and a half each to complete. And this was trying to do most of the stuff, but even then we didn't quite get all the collectibles and do all the side missions. So there is so much content in each of these missions, and as far as I know, there's about 9 in general to do. Secret weapons is where we head to next. Here we encounter many tanks, multiple at once, that can be really infuriating and tricky, because if they spot you, they're going to be constantly spotting you and following you around the map until you're able to take them out. And of course, to take them out, the quickest ways was satchel charges, but that means you have to run up to them. James found out the tricky way that if you do try and run up to them to plant a satchel, they can just reverse over you. But this is where you got to blow up some of the V2 missiles, and my god, is it cool seeing an actual V2 missile within the game itself. Blow them up, do some damage, head into the factory, steal some plans, and of course disable the engine so they can't make any more. This is what I would name the tank fighting mission, because that's what you're going to be spending most of your time doing. Mission 8 is called Rubble and Ruin. Now, it's not technically the last mission, but it is the last mission, and you'll kind of understand why in a second. Rubble and Ruin is through a battered and bruised town. It is, well, rubbled and ruined to hell. There's pretty much nothing left. It's been bombed, and the only thing there is the Nazis trying to hold and defend the area as they're being chased down by Carl Fairburn and his teammates. Snipers are a ray, they will spot you. Planting traps is paramount because, I mean, you're going to get spotted many times, especially if you're as useless as me. Trying to stealth this is pretty good. However, on authentic modes, using authentic sniping is very hard. So make sure you've got those contingency plans to head into melee, whip out an SMG or your pistol if you so need to. Oh, and you face another very heavy tank. I really wish I had saved the footage of me using the flare gun on it, because we managed to take it out with an airstrike. That was the one time I didn't record. I was recording every single mission, but for this one I thought, sure, we've got enough footage, let's leave it be. And then we pulled off something really cool and we didn't get it on camera. However, within this mission, you'll be facing some nuclear submarines, working your way through blowing them up one by one. We got a little bit confused, not quite finding the right things to blow up at the end, but we got there in the end, and we finally took out Operation Kraken with one beautiful sniper shot right at the end. So then, why do I say that's the last mission? Well, the final mission is called Loose Ends, and you head back to the chateau. However, I'll just play you the clip. This is the same mansion, right?
Yeah, it is. It's just cut off the rest of the map.
Wow, this is going to be awesome. There he is.
Like, ridiculously heavily fortified.
I found the fella.
We need to stop him from escaping, so he's about to drive past.
I'm assuming he runs off if he gets alerted.
Yeah, but if we kill him, he can't run off, can he?
It'll be a very quick mission if we just have to snipe him instantly.
This is why I wonder if there's like a separate bit, because they closed off most of the map, because he's about to drive past us. Look, he's got in the car. I love how you managed to shoot the guy behind the car. That's quite cool, that. But we're actually genuinely going to let him escape here.
Yeah, I'm confused at this mission, though. That surely isn't the mission. I mean, let's see what happens, but... Oh, I got him.
You got him? Nice.
Hi, away you go. Good riddance.
There's plenty more where he came from.
What the...
A drink.
What, is that it?
And Paris won't live with itself.
There's no way.
And after we
What a
single-handedly
last
liberate
mission.
Paris.
There is no way.
Who knows?
Oh my god.
Why have they made that a mission?
Well done. GG. Essentially, it's just a final wrapping of loose ends. I probably should have expected that from the title, but I did get myself hyped up for one last mission. We had completed everything else, and we decided, hey, let's finish this game and play this last mission, expecting to get a good hour of game time, but no, it was about 5 minutes of sniping one guy in the head. Overall, I think the missions and the campaign are pretty good. My favourite probably being the first 2 or 3. War Factory, I think, is probably the weakest mission, but it ends pretty well fighting through the rubble. But I still think the third one with the big Minas Tirith looking towers is, at least visually, my favourite one. Yet despite not being able to get much gameplay out of that last mission, it meant that we could try out some of the other modes. There will be a 16-player multiplayer 8v8 competitive battle, but of course the game hadn't released, so I've not tried that bit yet. However, there is a 4-player survival mode, waves and waves of enemies on different maps, and once we got the difficulty settings right, was so much fun. You'd be fighting against harder and harder waves, moving through different positions that you had to defend. They'd be sending in airstrikes, tanks, light vehicles, heavy vehicles, snipers, officers, heavy troops and light troops, being able to place down mine after mine, booby trap bodies and try and funnel them through different directions is so much fun. I think the survival mode is is really worth playing, especially if you can get 4 players to play it with. You'll be able to play on the harder and authentic levels and still get a lot of fun out of it. In general, I've had a lot of fun with Sniper Elite 5. I'm going to play through the missions again with the single player, and if you haven't already, go and check out my FPS channel, because I'll be putting up full bits of gameplay that I've been using in this review, because I recorded the whole game. Well, except from that cool bit when I flag under tank. I promise I did do it. I'm not making that up. But thank you once again for Sniper Elite 5 for sponsoring this video. Make sure you check out the game as it is released today. But until then, I will see you in the next one.